Let's go ahead and move into opening remarks. Each candidate has 60 seconds to introduce themselves and share their opening remarks. We'll start with you, Mr. Richard.
Good evening, everyone. How you doing today? Good. My name is Sean Richard. I'm running for District 10 Supervisor. I have over 30 years plus doing this community service work. I'm a life servant. I lost 2 brothers to gun violence. I started an organization back in 1995. My brother was shot and killed Easter Sunday. 4 years later, my second brother was killed. So I started an organization and a movement called Brothers Against Guns, working with kids in the community, working with young adults, helping them get jobs, helping them get housing, helping them get unemployed, and making sure that they understand the value of life, living, that they're more important alive than dead. I've been to a lot of funerals. I put a lot of young men to work, and I made sure that they sustain their jobs. Now, I started an organization because these young folks was having a difficult time trying to find their way. But at the end of the day, I helped them find their way. So I am proud to be here tonight, represent you. I wish you guys, I hope you guys listen to my plan, because I have a plan for you guys, and I want you guys to vote for me. Thank you.
Let's hold the applause until the end of the debate, please. Next person, Jessica Pesicow.
All right, ready? All right. Hi, I'm Jessica Pesicow. Nice to meet you all. Thanks for coming out. I'm running for District 10 Supervisor. I'm an RN, MSN, legal representative. Thank you. I created gov.thisthegame.com because it's a website that actually shows you the budgets for everything, provides the resources, tells you how to get immigration paperwork if you need it, and hopefully you can actually give back some comments about what you need in your community and how we can make things happen. Also, I'm not just sitting here because I have a plan. I actually go out and I do go to the meetings. I'm actually a part of the people that make the decisions. And when I worked to get budgets reversed, it happened. We got those services back for the community, for the education, for the youth, for the clinics. And that's what I hope we actually continue to do, is not only do that, but work on the environment. Thank you.
Mr. Lynn.
My legal name is Mike Trouble Lynn. I lived in San Francisco for 25 years, starting in 1998, including 15 years in Potrero Hill and 10 years in Bayview Hunters Point as a homeowner. I've worked at multiple startups, including the Vans Warped Tour and LinkedIn, where I was the second user interface designer starting in 2006. I created and published Potrero Hill South for 2.5 years, starting in 2005. It was a neighborhood blog. I saved Daniel Webster Elementary School from closure in 2006 with 8 other community members. I was the web genius of the team and sole dad with a preschool kid. I was PTA president at Jose Ortega Elementary School for the 2009-2010 school year. I was a volunteer teacher's assistant at George Washington Carver Elementary School for the 2019 to 2020 school year. I've also volunteered my time at Bret Harte Elementary School in the Potrero Hill neighborhood house. I've written 2 articles in the Potrero View newspaper on small businesses. My photos have been published in the San Francisco Standard and Potrero View. You can follow me on Instagram at VoteMikeLynn. Look at me if you support Mayor January. Shifsha, gracias, thank you.
Next we'll have Jamo Muhammad.
It's actually Jamo Muhammad. Thank you, sir. And I want to thank everybody who helped put such an event on. And of course, my name is Jamo Muhammad. I'm a long-time Bayview Hunters Point resident, one of Bayview Hunters Point's favorite sons. And actually, my great-grandmother is Miss Eloise Westbrook, who y'all might see when you run down the stairs to the right. And I don't say that in a sense of attempting to gain favor based on who she is, but I say that because she took me and my sister in at 3 and 5 years old, and that's the house that I grew up in. And her inspiration, her example inspired me for my years of service. And just for y'all having it here, it's such a blessing for me because I'm even that much more inspired. And I thank all of y'all for coming out me to share who I am, but I also would very much rather show you who I am. Thank you.
Ms. Bryant.
Hello, everybody. My name is Deandra Bryant, and I just want to start off to say this, that I'm not running for a title. I'm running to actually solve problems. I'm one of the other grassroots candidates that was born and raised in Bayview Hunters Point. I was born to two of the biggest families in the community. My grandmother had 16 children. I have like 80 first cousins. So I have been in this community for a very, very long time. I lived in public housing half of my life. So a lot of the policies that were put into place, I actually had to live through those policies. I'm a mother of a child with a disability who has autism, so I know what it is to advocate through the San Francisco Unified School District Special Ed Division. I have also been shot here in the community. I'm a survivor. I'm a domestic violence survivor. I have roots in housing authority and also working with victims of domestic violence and sex trafficking with the San Francisco's Network Ministries of Housing, which is a nonprofit here in San Francisco.
Theo Ellington.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you. My name is Theo Ellington. I am a third-generation Bayview native. I was born and raised on 3rd and Newcomb. So I got a little bit of dirt in my pocket. I am running for supervisor to make sure every family can afford to live here, feel safe, and for our neighborhoods to thrive. I have dedicated my life to making a difference in the exact same community that raised me. As commissioner for the Office of Community Investment and Infrastructure, we led the creation of over 1,000 housing units, 250 of those for formerly homeless families. As director for the Salvation Army, we helped to build housing for homeless families along the lines of addiction recovery. As the first director of public affairs for the Golden State Warriors, we brought over 3,000 good-paying jobs to this community and invested millions in philanthropic dollars towards education, workforce development. I see my card is red, so I will stop. Thank you.
Mr. Brookter.
Right. Good evening, neighbors. So my name is DJ Brookter, and I am a 16-year resident here in Bayview Hunters Point. And I share that because during my time here, I was actually the executive director of the Southeast Community Facility, and I want to ground this because I was instrumental in implementing and helping to design this very building that we're sitting in today. And my campaign is based upon purpose and community. I have helped develop dozens and dozens of programs that have gotten thousands of neighbors jobs, and some of those folks are right here in this room today. I have over 900 units of affordable and deeply affordable housing that has been developed and being built. And I have designed educational programs that have helped with post-secondary education and gotten young folks into careers. We need a supervisor that's going to fight for now and actually deliver those results for the future. Thank you.
J.R. Epler.
Thank you, everyone. My name is J.R. Epler, and I'm running for District 10 Supervisor to ensure that each of our neighborhoods is complete, vibrant, and connected. Complete in District 10 finally getting what it's owed. Streets that are maintained, housing built, the sorts of services that other neighborhoods take for granted. Vibrant means safe, active streets, small businesses that thrive, public spaces that we're proud of, and places where we can go out, celebrate, and be together. And then connected means no community isolated, reliable transit, safer walking and biking, and better connections between our neighborhoods and the rest of the city. Now, anyone can make a campaign promise, but for more than a decade, I've been working on delivering results for our residents. I rolled up my sleeves, read the fine print, negotiated as a volunteer on behalf of our neighborhoods, and learned how City Hall works and actually delivered the results for the people that live here. I look forward to answering your questions this evening. Thank you very much.
Mr. Jennison Jr.
Hello, thank you everybody for coming here. I'm here to listen to as well as you are. I go by L-E-L-L as my nickname, so if you see me, you can say that, or if you ask somebody in Hunters Point, they probably know me. I've been a union carpenter in San Francisco since 2 days after I arrived. When I moved to Hunters Point, I've lived 1 year on Potrero Hill, but when I moved to the Bay Area, what impressed me the most was the Bay. I believe that's the essence of San Francisco, and I believe it's our responsibility to protect the Bay. Right now, and the reason I'm running now is we have down Evans Street, where we have where the Anderson Cristofani boatyard was built, we have a nice platform, the concrete and everything. But all the property adjacent to it, I implore you all to go up on top of Hunters Point Hill and look down and vision a Golden Gate Park. All that open space, if it was developed but contoured, landscaped, trails, it would be wonderful. It would be wonderful for
Thank you, Al.
everybody in the city.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for your introductions. We now move into the moderator questions portion of our discussion today. There will be a total of 5 questions, and each candidate has 60 seconds to respond to each question. Our first question covers the topic of housing. The question is, for many working families in District 10, owning a home still feels out of reach. What specific policies would you push for to expand home ownership opportunities and help residents build long-term wealth? That first question goes first to you, Ms. Bryant.
But I can talk anyway.
No.
Hello, everybody. So the question about housing is something that I have a lot of experience in. I've been working with housing for about 6 years, and my plan to bring District 10 up to home ownership is I have an ideal that I feel that we need to partner with nonprofits, some philanthropists, and other community organizations like the San Francisco Housing Authority, because they have a Section 8 home ownership program, and we need to create more pathways for home ownership. We can also look into options like maybe a community trust so that the community can actually afford the housing that we live in. Because affordable housing is good, but at the same time, we don't want to be dependent. We want to make sure that we own things in our community and that we are able to get the resources that we need to connect home ownership so that you can build financial wealth for the long run. I have been a homeowner for over 5 years. So I think that is very important to our community. So I think what we need to do is just create more pathways so that people can be educated.
Thank you, Ms. Bryant. Same question to Mr. Epler.
Thank you. This is one of those yes and questions we're all going to be adding on to the great ideas of the candidate before us. And so in addition to what Ms. Bryant said, co-ops are another great opportunity. Community land trust, we certainly talk about making sure that we fund our first time home ownership program so that people who need assistance can get it and start to build wealth. But the other thing that I think that is important is that we have to keep people in the homes that they already own. And we know that sometimes when we inherit homes, there's a lot of deferred maintenance, and that's very expensive. So programs that help people update their homes, modernize them, and stay there so they don't feel compelled to, if they are fortunate enough to inherit a home in the district, they don't feel compelled to sell it because they can't manage the upkeep. Thank you.
Mr. Ellington.
Thank you. Well, the first thing we need to do is build more housing. And that's housing at every single income level. And we can do that without displacing the long-term residents who have called this place home for generations. We've got 20,000 new units of waterfront development projects that are in the pipeline. We need to get shovels in the ground and make sure that those developments happen. We have 3rd Street, transit-oriented development, literally empty plots of land and vacant buildings sitting on our main transit corridor. We've got to change that, we've got to push development. And then as we think about home ownership specifically, we have an opportunity to expand our certificate of preference programs. So we look at our cannabis equity. If you look at our cannabis equity program, it is very specific as to what can be done to have folks qualify. And so if we follow that same model for certificate of preference, there's a whole slew of people. If you're native of San Francisco, if you went to elementary school here, if you were evicted, some of these things that we can expand to make sure we have housing built at every single income level.
Mr. Lin?
I've looked at the SF Shipyard for about a decade now, and there's Mercy Housing that just got built across the street, so I'd like to see more affordable housing. Additionally, we need to put some pressure on the Navy to do cleanup. I was basically promised that we would see development at the SF Shipyard, and it has slowed down, and they're also supposed to be developing Candlestick Park. And then let us not forget that we do have quite a large number of people that are unhoused. I would like to see more tiny homes built in District 10.
Mr. Mohammed?
Truthfully, I believe this 7x7, everybody can't stay here at the end of the day. And we keep attempting to make it accommodating to folks, but at the same time, we're taking away from the beauty of what some of these neighborhoods really have. Some of the development that's going on top of the hill, you know, in some of these areas, is not the best housing. We already know that. But what are we going to do to make it better? What are we going to do to inform people of the opportunities that are out there? But at the same time, if we're trying to make it better, we got to make it to where, at the end of the day, the people feel that type of wanting to be homeowner type. There's so many people that's not meeting up to what y'all asking. So many people. And you can see the frustration in a lot of people. So at the end of the day, you got to give people the opportunity to really be that if that's what they want to be. Because some people don't want to be that at the end of the day. But everybody can't stay here 7x7.
Mr. Jennison?
Well, the first thing you got to think about is for ownership of a house is you need a job. You need two incomes. You're talking about an average house in the Bayview's $800,000. I have a friend that bought a place for $1.2 million in the shipyard. His price of his house has already dropped down $300,000. There was bad planning with that about the cleanup. We should not, when Dianne Feinstein accepted the property from the Navy, it was on a condition that $1.5 billion would be spent for cleanup with an open checkbook. Newsom came in and started taking little tiny parcels and developing them with Lennar, and that is really why we're paying the price now on those houses being declined. It should have been a total cleanup. Jobs are what we need. We need to put a solar farm out in the Hunters Point in the old area that's radioactive. Put wind turbines. Train our local people to work there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jennison. Ms. Pesica?
Okay. Yes. So housing should be a realistic path, right? That should be clear to everybody. Everybody should be able to see what taxes are increasing their costs, right, each year. We want to keep home ownership available for anyone that wants it, not just short-term rentals. We want to make it easier for people to find the resources so that they can get down payments on a house. so they can be first-time homeowner buyers. And so that we don't have all these algorithms that are increasing the prices of our housing. We want to ban that stuff. We also want to give people the opportunity to get to know the resources in their community. I've advocated for oversight on housing. I want them to be more transparent. Thank you.
Mr. Richard.
Thank you. So look, we got to keep the history here. We got to keep the families here. Families that moved out and they don't know how to get back. Some of the things I put down on paper is this. We need down payment assistance, helping families with that, showing them how to get money to buy a house. Certificate of preference, first priority. Then when they come back, they should have first rights. You know what I'm saying? Before they can come back in, they should have first rights to look at who are certificate preference holders. Continue financial literacy, teaching them how, once they buy a house, how to keep the house. That's one of the problems that a few of my friends had. They bought houses and they lost it. We have people that live here and was left a house, they gave it away by selling it for dollars on a penny. We have to make sure that we stabilize this community by bringing families back, showing them where they're from, why they're here, why they need to stay here, and make sure our younger generation can develop here. Thank you.
Mr. Brookter.
Thank you for the question, and I think what we need to do, what folks haven't done, is we need to acknowledge that this is a city and county of San Francisco problem. This is not just a District 10 problem, challenge, or issue. It's a city problem. I'm someone that had to work together with my family members and friends in order to be a homeowner here in our district. But what we were able to do because of that is there's individuals in this room that have worked with community-based organizations that have designed financial justice programs for our young folks. We need to start younger. If we're talking about home ownership, we need to start in middle school and having conversations, making sure that we have programs or their savings accounts for those young people to eventually become homeowners. And it's not all about being a homeowner as well, too. We have individuals that are in Section 8 programs that we need to work with, that we need to move to middle income housing. I'm someone who has built deeply affordable housing. We know we need more middle income housing, and I will develop that as your next supervisor.
Mr. Brookter, thank you.
Before we move on to the next question, I want to remind the audience that if you have the card and if you have a question, just put them above your head and wave them like this, and we'll come around and pick them up. Okay? We are going to talk economics. District 10 has some of the city's most visible examples of blight and underutilized commercial spaces, including along the 3rd Street corridor. What specific steps would you take as supervisor to bring those properties back into use and support local businesses? I'll start with you, Mr. Epler.
Thank you. I think the first thing that we need to do on 3rd Street is look at the built environment. We have a moat between the neighborhoods that extends from 23rd Street and Dogpatch to Gerald, right along a high-quality transit corridor. We should look at rezoning this to allow for mixed-use residential so that we can, with heavy incentives for workforce housing and affordable housing, so that we can provide additional housing opportunities and more people on the 3rd Street corridor to go to the 3rd Street corridor. We also need to look at placemaking along the 3rd Street corridor. It's a transit hub along the corridor in several places. Those transit hubs need to be made vibrant and active so that people can come down from the hills to the corridor in order to meet their needs. Because if they get in a car at home, they're going to drive out of the district to do their shopping. Let's bring them down to the corridor. We also need to work with the cultural district in order to ensure that the corridor reflects the culture of the neighborhood. We have art opportunities along the corridor in order to make it more vibrant. That art should reflect the community, and I would work to help make sure that that happens. Thank you.
Mr. Ellington?
So I subscribe to the philosophy that development shouldn't happen to us, but should be led by us and for us. The first 30 days in office, I will jumpstart what I'm calling a community and economic development plan. Right now, what we are doing is we are going property by property, fighting for our existence, determining what should go where without any cohesive plan. We haven't had a plan in this neighborhood since the 70s, the redevelopment agency plan. And so we've got to do better. We've got to build more housing. We've got to fix the infrastructure in this neighborhood. A number of our small businesses are a plumbing issue or an electrical issue away from shutting down completely. And so our infrastructure needs to change. The last thing that I will say is we have to put the power back into the hands of the people. Forums like this are really, really important. But we've got to show up. We've got to appoint the commissioners. We've got to show up to City Hall. We've got to not just do this during election season. 365 days, we need participation from everybody in this room in order to get this corridor vibrant and to move the economic development.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Mike Trouble-Lynn.
I really like what the city's done with the Vacant to Vibrant program. I think we should set aside some money so that we can encourage small businesses to occupy vacant spaces on 3rd Street. I also think if we bring in the arts, we might be able to draw more people into the 3rd Street corridor, especially at night. I'm actually one of the people that, has a sharp background. I was actually happy that AutoZone is actually going to be replacing what's now a vacant space for the past year and a half. So I'm kind of like a YIMBY. Let's just build it. Let's get businesses, in the corridors.
When we're talking about bringing properties back into use, ideally we gotta see what's going on with the properties. Because a lot of times stuff is going on with the individual properties. Sometimes people have hardships. We know not just on 3rd Street, but at the same time downtown and other areas having problems in terms of business. Businesses are shutting down all over the city. So we have to see what's going on with the business and see to what degree, we might be able to help. But at the same time, when I was growing up, there were businesses on 3rd Street that sponsored little youth leagues. There was partnerships amongst some of these businesses in the community. It's not that easy. We should look at that type of energy coming back in regards of our young people, especially when some of this stuff that's on 3rd Street is showing itself to be detrimental to a lot of our youth growing up in the community when we're talking about liquor stores and these types of things. Thank you, I'll leave it at that.
Al.
Hang on. Let me get some water.
It's like the World Cup, a water break.
Talking about the corridor and property, businesses look straight across the street to the Bayview. We've gone through, the last one to leave was Lucky, and before that there was another grocery store for a minute. There was Walgreens before that. There was heavy-duty shoplifting. They couldn't make a buck. It was dangerous. People were running out of things. What we should do is place a police substation in the Bayview market now so that they're visible and they can protect the people that are shopping and the shopkeepers. We need a grocery store there. Next year, they're going to shut down the 3rd Street Bridge. We will be isolated out here. The only way to go will be Evans, and then you have to go there and then make a right and go down where you're going to go to Potrero Hill. You're going to go to the freeway to go to Whole Foods. Or you're going to go, if you're right here, you're going to have to go to Food Co. and it's crowded over there with the neighborhood. We need to have a grocery store right here.
Thank you, Al. Jessica.
All right. Have you ever walked down 3rd Street? There's an awful lot of storefronts that are vacant. And so what we want to do is have these posted up so that people can see where they are on a map and have them get faster processes for cutting the red tape to get some of these places occupied again. We also want to cut some of the costs that are associated with doing business, right, on these streets. So that means examining some of the taxes that our business owners have. If you have problems, again, go.thisagain.com or hit me up right here. You can come see me at a lot of our business meetings at City Hall. Look them up online. Also, let's get more some transportation better into that area, because we know if there's transportation, there's more people that can do business there. We also want to have more Saturday streets, right? And get more resources available online. Thank you.
Look, I'm a small business owner for many years. But one of the things is with these properties that's out here, we have not been holding the landlords accountable. So these empty spaces have been going unemptied, haven't been too much high rent, too many different issues, too much red tape that they gotta go through. We gotta cut that. We gotta make sure that we talk to the landlords, let them know that this district is not for sale. This district is here to help and develop and grow. But we gotta do this by working together. We have to make sure that we point out the situation that's going on in the community that's not being benefit towards us. I don't agree with an auto zone. I'm not gonna ever agree with that. I'm supporting a CVS if Walgreens don't wanna come back. That's what we should have. We got seniors that's dealing with trying to get their medication. And they gotta go way the 30th admission to get it. That's not fair to them. When we got empty spaces on this corridor that we can open up. Thank you.
So let me first start off by sharing. I want to acknowledge and thank all of the individuals who currently have been meeting. And our cultural district has a chess report that's available for us to leverage and utilize on our corridor. I want to talk about some of the positive things that are going on the 3rd Street corridor. We have 9 new businesses that are coming to our corridor in the next year. Now, what we need to do are 2 things. We need to do an economic assessment of our current small businesses that we have. We need to make sure that they have the marketing tools and all the things that they need to ensure they bring foot traffic to their small businesses. And then we also need to ask the community to make sure that we have the right businesses that are here along the 3rd Street corridor. I've had conversations around a computer shop, and there are needs that our community has that we need to make sure when we're meeting with folks who want to occupy these businesses that we have the right businesses. And with my MBA, I know how to do that. Thank you.
All right, hello everybody. So recently I attended a community meeting and we discussed some of the numbers from the SFPUC. So from that meeting where we've discussed black employment in the Bayview, we are some of the lowest employed people. If public money is being invested in our neighborhood, our residents should benefit through these jobs. Apprenticeships, businesses, opportunities, economic development should be opportunity for the people who already live here. We need businesses that we can actually use here. I don't have an MBA, but I live here. So I know the businesses that we can benefit from in this community, which is more grocery stores, more family restaurants, child care centers, banks, credit unions, pharmacies, youth recreation, and retail stores. A lot of our storefronts and our businesses have a lot of problem with keeping up with the cost that it costs to have these storefronts. So maybe we should explore into shared spaces so that they don't have to worry about the cost so much and they can focus on the programs.
Thank you, Ms. Bryant. We now move to our 3rd topic, which is the topic of public safety. The question, public safety remains a top concern for many District 10 residents. How would you balance police staffing, community-based approaches and accountability to make neighborhoods safer? And what specific metrics would you look at to determine whether your approach is working? That question goes first to Mr. Ellington.
Public safety for me is not just a police response. Yes, we do need a fully staffed police department, but I think the best way to deter crime is a job. And so what I have proposed is a school to career pathway program. I went to school at the Arts High School here in San Francisco. I went to school from 7 a.m. to 12 noon, and then from 1 to 3:30 I did my art. We need the same thing for tech and AI, for construction and the trades, for healthcare. There's a shortage of nurses across the entire state of California. And so this is something we need a wholesale change for in our education system. And so for me, the linkage between public safety and jobs will be key to solving our crisis.
Mr. Lin?
I actually graduated from the SFPD Community Policing Academy in November 2024, so really have a good sense of what our law enforcement is doing. We basically, I think it'd be great to have more community ambassadors. I was recently in Los Angeles around the metro stations. They had community ambassadors. This would employ people. We've actually been enabling technology through passing, propositions. So I think flock cameras have been helping out with public safety in terms of like slowing down traffic. My background is in tech, so I believe that we can leverage tech, but I also think we should invest in City College and the trades. We have a City College San Francisco location here, and education, I think is really important to me.
Mr. Muhammad?
I think when you consider in public safety, that's something I'm kind of into personally. I have a Big Brother program called We Got Winners, but the desire was, I had a lot of my friends that were being killed or went going to jail, but there's voids. I know I was raised with great grandma. She filled a void for me. Who is there to really fill voids for some of our youth and need some of the troubles that's out there? So when we find ourselves with some of these organizations with all this money flying around, when I was on that hill, and when many of us are in some of these cuts, we don't see none of that. We don't see none of that. And if we really want to be helpful, we got to go where the problem at. We got to have the courage and the love to go where the problem's at. Who gonna help our people if we don't? Somebody got to have enough love. We got all this money flying around. We got the churches, we got the mosques, we got all these organizations that claim love for our people, but there's stuff happening out there and we ain't nowhere around.
Mr. Jennison?
As far as public safety goes, if everybody looks around when the streets they go, the homeless problem is irrelevant. We need to solve that. There should not be people sleeping on the streets. The amount of debris, the urine, the feces that is generated, everybody shits. It has to have a place to go. We here in the Bayview are in charge of all the treatment. They've just expanded the plant 4 times the size. They stuck it here. We should get some benefit. We should get some federal money. California's if you're homeless, where are you going to go? California. 3 out of 4 people come here. We need to have like a dormitory situation like Delancey Street. Bring people off the street, have them join and participate in the community that they're sheltering them. You work as a gardener, laundry, whatever. Don't build housing where you have a washer and a dryer and everything in your full
Mr.
thing.
Jennison, thank you.
We need a community situation.
Ms. Pesica?
So some of the metrics that we think about this, looking at, is adverse events that occur with police violence and number of gun shootings in our area and violent crimes, property damage, things of that nature. I think these are all really important things to look at in terms of public safety when it comes to policing and making sure that not only are our residents safe, but our officers are also safe as well, right? Because what we advocated for during the sheriff's department meeting was for retraining of officers and having the right person for the right situation. What we're often seeing is when somebody's got a drug overdose in the city, the EMTs are not being called. It's the police that are going there, who don't have necessarily the training. So getting the proper staff in place to actually help people out. We don't want to see overtime. We want to see budgets that can actually help prevent problems.
Public
Mr.
safety-
Richard.
Oh, sorry. Public safety is one of the biggest things that I worked on all my life. For 31 years, Brothers Against Guns been around working with young men, putting them to work. You're right, Theo. We do need to put them to work. But in order for them to go to work, we got to teach them how to keep the job. And that's the training that we put them through. It's a redirection program that I started over 20 years ago. That we put them through a redirection program, and from there, we obtained city employment. City and county employment. We did that. The second thing we do have to do with public safety, we have to sit down with the police department, we have to sit down with the captains in each district, we have to sit down with all the officers so they can know who the people are in the community instead of just coming out arresting them when something happens. We must understand that it's not about arresting and putting somebody in jail. It's about knowing what their mental is before we actually lock them up. If we don't do that, we're going to still keep having a high turnover rate of people going in and out of jail. We want to make sure we educate them and make sure if they want to go to school, they want to go to a program, we follow through with that. Thank you.
Mr. Grufter.
Sean was passionate about that. And I appreciate the work that you've done. We got the opportunity to work together on the District 10 safety plan, as well as Black to the Future, in terms of when it comes to public safety for me, we all have the fundamental right to be safe. We can agree on that. And so as I share that, it's about prevention, prevention, prevention. So it's looking at programs, as Sean was stating. There was one that we actually created under Mayor Lee's administration called the Interrupt, Predict, and Organize. We were actually taking young men from Baby Hunters Point off the corners, training them, and then getting them jobs with the Department of Public Works. Great city paying jobs. There's examples that exist that I've been a part of that we can bring into office starting day one. I have also served on the San Francisco Police Commission, holding our police officers accountable, and I've also been on the Sheriff's Oversight Board, holding our deputies accountable. That's the leadership that we need in District 10 as the next supervisor.
Ms. Bryant.
So I'm a survivor of gun violence. And I grew up in the projects here in District 10. So I know firsthand what happens when public safety systems don't prevent violence or they don't reach people in time. So I think what we need to start doing is we need to start holding these youth accountable. A lot of these young youth are out here carrying guns at 16, 17 years old. They're going to juvenile hall and they're not being held accountable for the crimes that they're doing early. So if you don't prevent it from happening early, if you don't intervene early and you don't give them the services that they need early, it could end up being too late. They kill people or they end up getting killed. This is something that has been a long-standing problem in our community. We also need more intervention with our police officers. We need to be friendly with them and they need to be friendly with us. Growing up, I knew the police officers in my community. You don't see them walking down the streets being friendly, introducing themselves. They don't need to be afraid of the community. We all have to come together to stop this violence here.
Thank you. On public safety, I think that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And the city can do much better with that prevention. One, we have to keep on, I don't care what the budget looks like and how tight it is, we have to continue to fund our youth services, whether they're done by the city or done by our nonprofit partners. And Rec Park is part of the city that does not do a good job in this district. I've got an 11-year-old. I've had to coach sports because no one else would. And we have to go across the city to get to those games. We have the kids in this district, we should have the youth programming provided by the city in this district, and we should have top-notch facilities within this district for our kids, so that they have safe places to be, places to learn, and places to not get into trouble. Thank you.
Now we're going to move on to environmental justice. So for years, the Candlestick Point and Hunters Point shipyard projects have been promised as transformation for the Bayview. But many residents say they've seen delays, environmental concerns, and too few benefits come back to the community. As supervisor, what would you do differently to hold developers accountable and ensure this redevelopment delivers for legacy residents? And we'll start with Mike Trouble-Lynn.
Okay, I'll openly admit that I don't have much knowledge around this topic. Again, I bought into the vision of the San Francisco shipyard, where they're going to start developing the surrounding areas, and then they found radiation. I'm not quite sure what kind of pressure that we can put on the federal government, the Navy, to clean up, and then encourage Lennar to start developing both in the San Francisco shipyard as well as Candlestick Park. That's about it.
When we're talking about holding developers accountable, is there really a mechanism to do that? Because when we to the point to where we seeing all this development come into our communities, and we know the disparities in the pay already, somebody is seeing these numbers, but ain't nothing happening through the disparities. So if we're not doing it at this point, when such a project comes, can we expect the same thing? You know, at the end of the day. Years ago, of course, some of them developers exposed us to toxic air and dust and all this type of stuff. Have they been held accountable in a real kind of way, to the degree we've been exposed as a community? No, we haven't. Is there a mechanism that allows us to hold them accountable? Or is it just about somebody getting paid at the end of the day, to the detriment of the community? Thank you.
Well, you all heard what I think about out in the old shipyard. I believe that it should be commercial wind, solar, and development there with training, and so we can provide jobs. We don't really need to build more houses. It's like a highway. You build an extra highway, they load it up. These arbitrary numbers that are from the state that for funding, you have to have so much housing is not correct. We should have what comes. It doesn't pencil in for these developers for labor and cost of materials to build and to make a profit. That's why everything's at a standstill now. In the corridor and everything here, but all around the city, it's the Amazon effect. People don't need retail anymore. But back to the point of, at Hunters Point, if you've gone there where they built these new houses, since there was just one selective area, it's jam-packed with houses, it's crowded. We should have individual lots sold so that people have some space.
Thank you, Al.
Build them themselves.
Thank you.
Before we actually do this, can we just have a question? Are you focused more on housing or the actual shipyard cleanup itself?
It's not necessarily housing. It's about what's being done with those areas, including cleanup.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe just ask the question again.
Okay.
Okay.
Jessica, do you want me to ask the question again?
Yes.
So for years, the Candlestick Point and Hunters Point shipyard projects have been promised as transformation for the Bayview. But many residents say they've seen delays, environmental concerns and too few benefits come back to the community. As supervisor, what would you do differently to hold developers accountable and ensure this redevelopment delivers for legacy residents?
Okay, so first we're gonna check in with our residents, see what they want, what their benefits, what they need in terms of their health, in terms of their housing, things of that nature. So we will be asking for the developers to implement transparency in terms of reporting requirements, what is in the soil. And we're asking for them to do cleanups like biomediation, right? Introducing biomicrobes to actually eat some of that debris up, right? That can be eaten. We'll also be asking for health care for a lot of our residents because we know there's a lot of damaging effects on people. So we will be screening our residents, making sure that they're getting access to care. We'll also be, if people want this, suing the developers that are possible. Only if we're down. If you are, go.thisagain.com. Write it down there.
District 10 would no longer bear the burden of what's been going on in the shipyard. We got to put a halt to that. I attended the CAC meetings, I attended the OCI meetings, and they're talking the same thing. They're saying the same jibber jabber. We got to hold the Navy shipyard accountable. We got to hold all them folks out there that's dealing with that. Did you guys see the news? Plutonium found in the shed. Come on now. We got to do better than that. We got lives and babies living out there. So, Candlestick, they're about to build. They're breaking ground. We got to hold 5 points in Lennard and them accountable on everything that they're talking about building over there. But we're forgetting about the residents across the street over in Delaware that's having a hard problem trying to maintain their living quarters. Rats, raccoons. Nobody's talking about that. We have to step up and make sure that those residents understand that we're here to support them. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the days of asking developers is no longer. It's now the days of requiring that need to happen. And what we need to do is make sure that we design and we have mechanisms in place for them to leverage those community benefits. During my time at Young Community Developers, we were actually receiving community benefits to make sure that we had math academies. We had young men and women from community in math academies and getting them placed into the plumbing and electricians union. We were paying for union dues, work boots, hard hats to make sure that individuals got to work in their community on those projects. So making sure that we have a mechanism for them to fund with those community benefits. But there's already groups that are here that are meeting that I, as supervisor, would make sure that we have hearings. There's a council that meets every Tuesday that is not funded, that should receive funding to hold those folks accountable, to make sure our small businesses have access to the jobs that are coming through our pipeline. And then we also have environmental organizations here in this room that have 6 points already ready to go in terms of how we clean up the shipyard and our environment here in our very own community. And that's what we need to do.
Thank you very much. Deandra.
I just want to touch on what Mr. Richard said because I'm actually from the Rock. So I feel like environmental justice doesn't just stop at the fence line. It also includes the conditions inside of people's homes, like he mentioned. You have people who have mold, you have people who are living with rats, you have seniors who are stuck at the top of the 5th floor and they cannot get down when they need to go to appointments. I have experienced people who have died from cancer back to back. And it is something that is taking us out, and it cannot be ignored anymore. We are tired of being subject to death in our communities, and that's exactly what we are being subject to. So all of this building in the shipyard, we do need to put a halt to until we figure out what is really going on. Because right now, I'm not against redevelopment, but what I am against is subjecting our people to these health conditions for the redevelopment.
Thank you. So look, on delay, these projects have taken a long time. We need new tools to help finance these projects, move them forward. That's why I'm supporting a public bank. It's going to be on the ballot this November. I urge you to vote for it. We have other tools like finance districts that we need to expand in order to be able to complete these projects along the waterfront. With respect to environmental concerns, we need radical transparency. It shouldn't take us 6 months to get a result that says that they found plutonium. We should know just after they know that they have a result. We also need real-time dust monitoring so that we can actually enforce the dust protocols that we have in place. And then with respect to benefits, environmental cleanup is something that you can learn. It can be something that the community participates in, that the workforce can go into. Also, our apprentice programs that go into the trades. These are all unionized jobs along the waterfront. If we get this going, then we have 15 to 20 years of an economic engine through the trades for this district. Thank you.
Very, very complicated issue, but in simple terms, community benefits should not be an excuse to turn a blind eye to the environmental disaster. There are benefits. There is money. It's just going to a handful of people and not the broader community. Let me first just acknowledge that. And so while we talk about this and we get angry and we get upset, we can't then on the other side take money from the same developers that we are trying to hold accountable. This is the exact reason why we bought a legal suit against both Lennar and Tetra Tech for falsifying the soil samples. And it was moving towards an arc of justice to say that we will not allow this in this community anymore. And so we've been working on this for the past decade plus. And things that we have asked for, not just 2 weeks ago at a press conference, these are things that people fought for. These are things that people died for. And so what I'm calling for is for us to, 1, revamp the CAC, 2, restore the Restoration Advisory Board, and 3, provide independent monitoring at each of the development sites on our waterfront.
Moving on to our next topic here, we're going to be looking at transportation. The question is, as Chase Center and other venues bring more large events to San Francisco, District 10 residents say traffic and transit disruptions have become a regular problem. What specific requirements would you push for to make sure neighborhoods are not bearing the cost of the city's growing event economy? That question will go first to Mr. Muhammad.
We know San Francisco's on a decline, financially, just as America is at the end of the day. And San Francisco's under the impression that it can give events in a way to where it can somehow work its way out of this problem. But it ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. And at the end of the day, yes, there's large events, and it's gonna be traffic problems, just like the last one they had up in one of them parks by the beach. But it's gonna be problems, and you can't get around it at the end of the day. You have a lot of people centralized in one location, everybody trying to go all different ways. It's gonna be a problem. So that's some of those expensive degree type folk need to figure out. They get paid to, but if they haven't figured it out, what you expecting the people to do? One would think it's simple, but it just takes, because it ain't nothing we can't think our way out of, especially if we saying we leaders. Thank you.
Mr. Jennison.
I hope we all know that in the beginning of the year, they're going to close down the 3rd Street Bridge for 2 years. So as far as transportation goes, and there's not going to be a replacement or a temporary bridge to put through. I've worked for C.C. Myers, I've worked on the bridges at 280. Anyways, be that as it may, you have a concrete batch plant out there with silicates dumping, falling off the trucks going across the Illinois Street Bridge daily. That should be addressed. They should cover it up. Possibly the situation for this 2-year thing would be have the concrete companies move the batch plant on the other side of Issus Creek near Pier 70 where they can still receive their materials and isolate them from using the Illinois Street Bridge. We need to repave, before this thing, repave Evans Street, take the landing ramp out of it, make a nice smooth drive place for buses to go. Thank you.
Mr. Richard. Excuse me, Ms. Pesco.
Yes, so I actually, oh, okay. What? Okay, you're good? All right. All right, so what do you think about this? And if anyone can, and works entertainment, please let me know. So I've actually been going to the Entertainment Commission meetings and asking if some of these corporations who are throwing these big events, and also our hospitals that have a lot of patients that they need to be seen during business hours in particular, if they can have shuttles, and if we can redesign our bus routes so that there is one bus that can take people to and fro places. How are we doing that? I have worked, or am continue working with SFMTA to redo our overlapping bus routes, 14, 14R, and more. If anyone has any concerns, please let me know. We'll try to redo some of our bus routes, because why add more costs when we can just kind of streamline everything that we have, right?
Mr. Richard.
We need to bring back the 15. Direct. That's it. Only support of the T-Train is because they said that they was going to employ some of my young men. And I was okay with that. But the 15 went from Balboa High School all the way down to Fisherman's Wharf. We don't have that no more. They're about to cut off the bridge. My team has been meeting with SFMTA, and we're trying to put together a monthly meeting, weekly meeting for the residents, the community, so we know what's going on daily. We know what's going on weekly. Because right now, we still forget the big thing. We have seniors. They need to get around. Some of them don't have cars. Some of them don't have relatives that can pick them up. But we have to do it. We have to do our job by speaking up for them. So I feel the bottom line is transportation, this bridge, we have to do better. We have to fix this. We have to make it happen. Thank you.
Mr. Brookter.
So as we have this conversation, we need to make sure that we are looking at the current shuttle program that we have. Our district is actually the only district that has a shuttle program. I got to sit at the table with SFMTA, and what we need to do is enhance that shuttle program. And what a lot of folks may not know is that our district is actually a very large entertainment district, just right there in Dogpatch. We have the Midway that hosts thousands and thousands of individuals in our community there. So we need to make sure we can get folks there. But we need to make sure we have more express buses. We need to make sure we have difficult conversations around the T-Train as well too. I said this before. We need to have conversations about potentially skipping some stops during the day to make sure that folks can get from Sunnydale all the way downtown in a timely manner, or to Chinatown in a timely manner. And as we talk about this Last Creek Bridge, we need a coordination plan. I've been in a ton of meetings, and this needs to be a priority of the city, where we coordinate with MTA, DPW, and the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission with all of these projects that are taking place here in our area. Thank you.
Ms. Bryan.
Hello, everybody. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't ride the public transportation because I don't feel safe. I think we gotta start there. It is very dangerous sometimes riding public transportation. You know, people deserve to be safe when they're going to work, when they're going to school. I have a son with a disability, so I take extra precaution. You have people who are on the bus using drugs. You know, you have people who assault the bus drivers. I think we need to create programs to support them. so that they feel safe, so that maybe we will like to ride, people like me will ride public transportation and feel safe doing it. I also agree with what was said, when the bridge do close down, we do need shuttles. We need some sort of accommodation that will accommodate the people on this side who do ride public transportation. But I've been kind of contemplating with a balance that where riders can deserve to feel safe, we need some kind of street team to ride the buses with people. You know, they have the ones that come on and check your transfer. They want to know if you paid. We got to be safe.
Mr. Epler.
Thank you. I think that we have to acknowledge that if we don't have a strong foundation, then there's nothing else that we can do to make things better. That means we need to fund Muni this November. That means that we need to make the T faster and implement signal priority along its entire route. We need to cut the turnarounds that happen at the Mission Bay Loop. We need more rapid transportation in and out of this district, and we need more accountability. I worked on the legislation that keeps the Warriors accountable with the creation of a committee that overlooks how operations go there. I helped fight to keep it in this last round with Bruce Agid when they were doing the consolidation of the commissions. That oversight is important. And then last, private industry needs oversight too. This kerfuffle over the 4th of July, yeah, Muni wasn't working very well, but it was Waymo stalling the street that was the primary cause of what was happening. And we need effective regulation around this so that doesn't happen in emergencies, power outages, or big events.
Mr. Ellington.
Very, very complicated issue, and I wish we had more than a minute to talk about it. On the transportation side, we need to plan for now, but we also need to plan for the neighborhood that we want to become. We are geographically positioned to be a regional neighborhood, and so expanding Caltrain, looking at bringing the T-Train underground long-term, connecting us to the South Bay, connecting us to downtown, all things we need to explore when we talk about transportation. As it pertains to entertainment, you should not have to leave your neighborhood for a quality entertainment show. We have the Ruth Williams BWOPA House, and so dollars need to be put there so that we can all enjoy events like this at a beautiful facility. Last thing, the 3rd Street Bridge. This is the one issue that will finally connect all of our neighborhoods that we can get together and advocate for. If you live in Visitation Valley, it should not take an hour and 15 minutes to get to downtown from Vis Valley. And so as it relates to the 3rd Street Bridge, Illinois Street is not capable of mitigating 20,000 transit riders by bike, by foot, by car, by bus, etc. And so we need to tap into unspent bond dollars as it relates to transportation to get an alternative bridge built so we're not shutting down the Islayas Creek Bridge.
Thank you, Mr. Ellington. Mr. Lee.
So this is a topic that I actually am pretty knowledgeable about, as I do take public transportation. Bayview Shuttle actually is a pretty amazing program. There are about 7 shuttles, which also have access points to 24th and Mission, as well as 2 Caltrain stations. So I think we should expand the fleet as well as expand the hours. Also, if you just take a look at metrics around events, they should be running buses. And I think if you have an event ticket, you can actually ride the buses for free. The other thing is SFMTA. I don't know why the buses are like $2.75. In LA, it's $1.25. I have a disability, I get a 50% discount. I think that should be reduced, and then I think we should have a public-private partnership with Waymo and Zoox, where residents of the southeastern sector get free sectors to take public transportation.
Thanks very much.
Okay, now we get to the candidate questions. Each candidate gets to ask one question to another candidate. That candidate who's asking the question will have 30 seconds. 30 seconds, and the candidate who's asked the question will have 45 seconds to respond. So we are going to start with Mr. Jennison.
Theo? As far as the 3rd Street Bridge goes, what would you do for the 2 years that it's there? And then also the thing about the 3rd Street Bridge is it's being built because of the sea-rise level is moving up. And then we're only gonna make it 3 feet higher. And plus, the planning department let the Carpenters Union build a building right next to it. It's gotta have an archway to go 3 foot, so it's gonna block this and that. How come that went through? So what would you do about that?
Thank you for the question. I think we have to fight to make sure this bridge doesn't get closed. The environmental impact report that went out did not adequately assess an alternative option. They said, number one, that it would cost too much, and they moved to the next section. And so the first thing is first, they need to show us plans to build another bridge before they shut one down. Secondly, I mentioned the unspent bond dollars. $300 million in unspent bond dollars that the city and county of San Francisco has. You need a supervisor who is willing to collaborate with city departments to make sure we are advocating for said dollars. And so they got to go back to the coffers and make sure this doesn't affect the southeast side of San Francisco.
The problem with that is, Theo, it's already been approved. The bridge has been approved.
So we're not gonna debate, and we're gonna go to the next candidate question.
Well, they had an answered question for it and nobody replied to the answers for it when it was going through planning.
Thank you very much. Jessica.
All right, DJ. Hey. We both really care about everybody, and I know all these candidates care about everybody. So when we win, how can we work together to make it happen, Captain? We gotta turn this place around and save our environment, protect our citizens, and get a better future. How can we work together?
Jessica, I appreciate that question, and you have shown up and you have continued to show out. So I want to thank you for your energy and what you bring to the forum. But I think what we do, Jessica, is as we look out amongst this room, it's working with every single individual here in this room to ensure that we design, develop, and build the future District 10 that we want to have. Everybody that I see in this room, I've done work with, whether it's working with young people, it's developing and creating jobs for individuals, or it's developing housing. As I look across this room, it's these individuals, Jessica, alongside individuals like us that continue to care about our community. In all tides, we'll continue to lift boats. So we do it all together, Jessica.
Thank you very much. Mr. Richard.
I don't have a question for no one right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
DJ.
All right, I promise you this was not planned, because my question is for Jessica.
Ooh.
So, Jessica, can you just share with us, because you've been here since day one,
Yeah.
what has the process been like for you running for office, so you can share with all of our members that are here?
Great, thanks. Yeah, so I'm a grassroots candidate. You won't see me on the ballot. Not on the ballot. I'm on the ballot. You won't see me as a top one of the endorsed candidates in Potrero View because I didn't accept campaign donations. Instead, what I did was I actually helped get the services that needed funding back on the budget and get the funding where it needed to go. So that part was hard. What was actually really helpful doing is actually going to SF.gov, going on TV, going to the mayor's office, going to our committee meetings, and actually talking door to door. And most importantly, cleaning up the city really helped. Because I actually got to meet JR. Shout out to you. And a lot of people here. So please, let's work together, okay? I appreciate you.
Deandra, do you have a question?
So, God. So, this question is for JR. So, how would you handle some of the disadvantages that the African American and the Samoan American family here in the District 10 community, some of the disparities that we're facing? How would you address those within your first, let's say, 100 days in office?
Sure, that's a great question, and I think it gets to the heart of the advocacy that I've shown, throughout other communities. Is first, I want to show up and I want to listen. I want to understand your problems. I want to, understand what it is that we can do together in order to improve the issues that you have. And then second, I go out and advocate. I'm a fearless advocate. I'm a trained advocate. I'm an attorney by background. I will go out there and fight for you tenaciously. And then third, because of my knowledge from work in city government, my more than a decade experience, actually deliver the results that it is that you need. This is work I've done throughout the district already. It's work that I want to do for you as your supervisor, and it's work I'll do for everyone in this district, regardless of background or neighborhood. Thank you.
JR.
Mike Glenn, I got a question for you. The school district constantly is trying to reduce the number of schools, and they're constantly focusing on this district for those reductions, even though we have so many kids that live here. You have experience in working to save the school. What do you think that neighbors can do in order to efficiently advocate for their local schools?
Thank you for the question, JR. I'm actually quite disappointed that recently a Bayview principal was actually fired from her position because they didn't have a proper PTA set up. It's problematic for working class families to attend PTA meetings. This principal was highly respected, was motivating kids to study with prizes. I think we need to, have more distribution of funds from other PTAs that have more funding to all the schools.
You should turn. Let's see. Sorry, Jessica. I'm going to ask Sean Richard a question. Sean, I saw you show up during the recent Planning Commission hearing about the AutoZone, and I would love for you to expand on your point of why you oppose the project. We all know the environmental effects. We all know what being a good corporate citizen means. For me, it missed the mark on both of those. But for you, talk to us about why you oppose that project.
I oppose that project because, one, we don't need another AutoZone. We have one at 3rd and Evans, right here, Napa. Then we have O'Reilly on Bayshore. We have O'Reilly on San Bruno. Then we got AutoZone on Cesar Chavez, when our seniors have to get on a bus to go to 30th and Mission to get their medication. It's not fair to them. I don't agree with that. So, I also was there for the Housing Commission, dealing with the issue about Devil Rock, that I was highly upset about. That these commissioners is clueless to what's going on with these families down there. So, that's my point on that. But at the end of the day, we don't need an AutoZone. We need something that's meaningful for the community in District 10.
Starting in 2021, Mayor London Breed and Shimon Walton diverted $120 million from the SFPD to the now scandal-ridden Dreamkeeper initiative. The Bayview Opera House, where Theo Ellington is executive director, received $2,425,000 in funding, and Young Community Developers, where DJ Booker was CEO, received $5,695,684. I would like Theo, DJR, and GR Epler to answer how they will ensure public money is not misappropriated.
I'll wait.
Did you mean JR or DJ? You said JR. All three of us.
All three.
And that was larger. Yeah. So thank you, Mike, for that question. And what I really want to share is actually how instrumental Dream Keepers Initiative was here in this community. The organization and the funding that we received was so that we can actually be the fiscal sponsors for smaller nonprofit organizations that don't have the infrastructure that they need to work with the city and county of San Francisco. So what we need to do, and what I will do as supervisor, is make sure that our community-based organizations that need those assessments, you need the extra help to make sure your back end is taken care of, we will ensure that we work with them so that they can do it, so they can receive the funding themselves. But us as an organization, it was passed through for the smaller organizations to work with. Thank you.
Thank you, DJ, for that answer. So, I am, let me just say, super proud of the work that we have done at the BWOPA House over the last 5 years. It was $2 million, it should have been 5. We put artists to work. We hosted over 100 events over the course of a year. We welcomed 8,000 new people into our facility, and we showed what was possible here in Bayview Hunters Point. I made the point earlier, and I will make it again, that you should not have to leave your neighborhood for a quality art and entertainment show. We now see the mayor and the city investing in arts and entertainment across the city. I want to see that same energy here on this side of town. If it takes $2 million, I'll take it. If it takes $5 million, I'll take it. That's the kind of investment I want to see.
All right.
You know, at the end of the day, right, we have so many nonprofits in District 10 that provide great outcomes and use their money responsibly. The only thing I would do is make sure that their example is something that's citywide: accountability, transparency, keeping track of results, keeping track of metrics, fundamental management of money. That's the only thing that will, keep the occasional bad thing that happens from happening.
Thank you very much. Mr. Muhammad, would you like to ask a question?
Well, not necessarily to the candidate. No, sir. I'll be fine.
Thank you very much.
All right, we now move to the audience Q&A portion of the forum today. We've collected your index cards. At this point, we only have enough time for one question.
That was a nice trick.
The question is, can you name one policy you would continue and one you would change? We're going to start with Ms. Pascal.
So one policy you would change, one policy you keep. Okay. We're going to be changing our budget, right? We're going to get no cuts, right? We actually want a lot of the services back for those that actually want them, okay? Please let me know, again, what services are really important to you. We know that healthcare is on the line right now. We just got a ton of budget cuts, and that cut a lot of our DPH and other stuff. So we can't really help the unhoused or those with mental health conditions or our seniors or our youth properly, right? So those are some of the things we want to change. Some of the things that we want to keep are a lot of our, a lot of our programs are actually helping out our small businesses because we really want to keep them here. It's really important to keep this city vibrant. We know that we want to help protect the environment, and so hopefully we can get some of those things and keep them there, that are ones that are working.
Thank you. Mr. Richard.
Can you repeat the question? Because I was talking to Sean, trying to ask him a question.
Of course. The question is, can you name one policy you would continue and one you would change?
One policy I will continue to make sure we fund youth programs, because the youth programs that's doing the work in the community are saving lives. I will also make sure that's one thing I will change. The one thing that I will keep is making sure that we help people that's back paid on their rent, that's being displaced, being moved out. We have to fix that. Because at this time, community is leaving us. They're not looking like us no more. Even though this is a diverse community, we're losing our community. So I will make sure that we put in place a program that will help save people with their back rent, help people save their housing and stuff like that. Thank you.
Mr. Proctor.
So one thing we absolutely need to change and will change when we are in office is the certificate of preference. It was brought up earlier, but we need to make sure that it includes and inclusive of future generations. Right now, it stops at a level that just isn't inclusive of individuals that need to come back and for individuals to stay here in the city. So we need to expand that and change that. And then also, one of the things we do need to keep and what we need to look more into as it pertains to housing is WHAMI, which is the workforce housing and medium in income. There's a bond that actually was passed in 2024 by former Supervisor Aaron Peskin, where we actually have funding to continue to build middle income housing. And we need to uplift that, and we need to continue to push that forward.
Ms. Bryant.
So I would keep policies that invest in our community. Those policies are very useful. One thing that I would change is I would change the lack of accountability. I think that it's too often that we fund these programs year after year without knowing the measured results from the programs. It's cool to know, you got activities going, and all of these things, but we need measurable results. We need to know how many people in our district are actually in these programs, because a lot of these programs, our kids don't even show up. So we need to start having measurable results before we continue to pay our money into these programs, and we don't know what the success is looking like for these programs. It's one thing to place somebody in a job, but to have a long career from that job placement, that's a whole total different story. And we got to start holding accountability to these programs that's getting the money is not delivering the result. It makes no sense that we have job training incentives, but according to the numbers, we have the less jobs.
Thank you. In terms of one policy that I would continue to ensure that we have strong labor standards on any sort of development that is done in a development agreement on public land or that has affordable public financing associated with it. That is the engine that's going to help carry this district over the course of the next 20, 25 years. In terms of a policy I would change, it's kind of the flip side of that. It takes us too long to deliver on big projects. And so the two in particular, one, this 2 years that the Islayas Creek Bridge is going to be out, let's say 1 year. Your goal is 1 year. Now tell us why. How do we solve that problem? Let's shift how we do that. We look at the Oakdale Caltrain station. We've studied it to death. Now they're going to say it's going to take us 10 years to get there. Why? This is something that we needed years ago when the idea was first circulated. Let's get that built quickly. We should be able to do these things in District 10 quicker.
Mr. Ellington.
So, 2 points here. The first thing that I would change that is an existing policy is the family zoning plan. If you remember when the mayor and the Board of Supervisors put this forth, District 10 was not a part of that conversation. And so making sure that we look at 3rd Street as an opportunity to develop where appropriate and to update our infrastructure and do the things that we've been longing for decades. One thing that I want to continue is expanding the Housing Trust Fund. If you look at these down payment assistance programs, the Housing Trust Fund is how we fund those things. So the bonds that get set, the grants that we give to city employees, to first responders, et cetera, those come from the Housing Trust Fund, and I want to make sure we support that and expand that where possible.
Mr. Lynn.
As someone that came from a startup background, I really like under Mayor Lurie the SF permits where there's less friction, permits are getting done quicker, which is great, helping out small businesses. One thing I would like to see less of is things like SFMTA, the Valencia Street debacle where they had the center lane, and I don't know whether or not Vision Zero actually has a plan.
One thing I would like to change is really how we view the simplest of us. Jesus said, if you haven't done this unto the least of these, you haven't done it also unto me. A lot of times, the little one that's been bothered the most by San Francisco policy is the one looked at as the problem. We have to quit that as it relates to ourselves and one another. Because how can we blame little children for what's going on when these little children is our children? You know, these are neighborhood children, but we view them in a way because at the same time, some of us don't want to deal with the problem. Some of us ain't got time to go talk to that little brother, that little sister. It's a lot of lack of information going on in our communities and we suffering from it. And we saying we 3 to 5%. If we don't get it together with the will to help our folks, we will never get what we think we deserve in a city like this if we ain't willing to put the work in.
Mr. Jennison.
Well, one of the policies that I feel that should be changed is the end of redevelopment. Houses should be built, lots should be allocated, maybe a Habitat Humanity type situation, let people build their own houses. One of the things that I think is good in this city is the transportation. I think it's very innovative, but we could go another step. Why can't we do like an aerial tramway that comes down 3rd Street? We could show the rest of the districts how to do it and it'd be like a carnival ride. You'd see the whole beautiful city. They should even do this down at the Ocean Beach. Make it enjoyable to be. Have people that come from other countries and look and hit a ride and see the beauty of our city.
All right, thank you to our candidates. We now move into closing statements. Each candidate has 1 minute to make their closing comments to the audience. We start with Mr. Richard.
Thank you. It was good to be here tonight. I've been around for 31 years, fighting this fight, stopping violence, working with young men and women, working with families throughout the whole entire San Francisco and Bayview, Hunters Point, mainly. My point is this: you need somebody that's going to lead you, somebody that's not going to lie to you. Accountability, action, going to fight for you day in and day out. I've been a fighter my whole entire life, and I will fight for you. I will make sure you understand that you have an open door policy with me. Let me say this. I've been having the same phone number for the last 30 years. I'm not running from nobody. That's the problem. We got people that's running. The same way we run to the applause, we got to run to the boos. We got to run to the yelling. That's going to make you better. That's going to make me better. I was a commissioner at Juvenile Hall for 5 years. Vote for me. If I'm not your first pick, make me your second or your third. Thank you.
We're just switching up the order of just a little bit for the closing statement, so we're going to go to Mr. Jennison.
Thank you. What we need to do is we need to realize what we have. We could make a Golden Gate Park out on India Basin. It would be a beautiful place for people to sit down and have a little space by themselves instead of being crowded next to disco music. We need to protect our environment. I've been living out there since 1980. The egrets, the fish, the birds are beautiful. I think of birds as being angels. You know, what we need to do is also protect our environment. Pier 68 hasn't been mentioned. It's a toxic wasteland where the shipyard was. The city has not tested it. It should be designated a Superfund area if it is tested and those things are things. They're holding off on it. They want development. Forget redevelopment. Look what happened to Western Addiction. It's vacant now. It's been vacant. Let development happen when initiated by desire.
Mr. Dennis, thank you. We now go to Mr. Brookter.
So I want to start off by saying thank you again to BWOPA, APACC, the Willie B. Kennedy Democratic Club, and the Eastern Neighborhoods Democratic Club, where I actually served as the first District 10 director of that club. I helped design and build it, so Bruce has done a phenomenal job with the club, so it's a pleasure to be here with you today. What I hope you heard from me today is you have someone who has leadership and experience in designing workforce development programs and getting our community to work. We have built and will continue to build housing that's deeply affordable, as well as affordable for those with middle income. And we will continue to focus on the future generations that come behind us with our educational pipelines. And that's why, together, I'm here to earn your vote as your next District 10 supervisor. You will have somebody that will fight for you today, and we will all work collectively together to fight for our future. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Mohammed.
Thank you. Thanks again for the opportunity, of course. And I just want to say, really, it's not what we say, it's really what we do. You know, at the end of the day, we can say use a lot of beautiful words, but it's about what we do at the end of the day. And personally, I'm not really here to talk about what I might do if elected and all that type of stuff, because at the end of the day, either we leaders or we not. The title or position don't make you that. You know, either that's in you or it's not in you. And either you got the potential and the power to bring people closer, you know, that they may work in behalf of the good of our community, or you don't. For those who do, you know, we got to use it to help our folks. And if we don't have it, you know, we got to be real with ourselves and the fact that we don't have it. You know, at the end of the day. But I wish everybody well. Thank you all for of course, having me. And again, my great grandmother's Miss Eloise Westbrook, and we go get it cracking.
Thank you. Mr. Lynn.
So I have an acronym for my platform. It's based on Pirate Speak, Ahoy Matey, M for mental health, A for the arts, T for tech, E for events, Y for youth advocacy. I'm really focused on mental health as someone who is publicly disclosing that I have a bipolar 1 diagnosis. I've been 5150 4 times between 2013 and 2015. I've been placed in mental health facilities. I've been in mental health facilities for 3 months, 28 sessions of electric shock therapy. I've tried to commit suicide. I am basically here trying to hold the leaders accountable and as a Gonzo journalist.
Mr. Ellington.
I want to say thank you first and foremost to the organizers for hosting such a great spirited debate. I would also be remiss, and I intentionally waited to the end, to acknowledge Dr. Espinola Jackson, who fought tooth and nail to keep this place open. One thing that she taught me as I sat in her living room for hours going over document after document is that all of the solutions to this district's problems lie within our neighborhood. Highest unemployment rate, yet we have the highest concentration of industrial space where we could modernize that and bring back jobs. Infant mortality rates, high asthma rates. We have a world-class institution in the University of San Francisco right in this district. A food desert. We have a wholesale produce market walking distance from this place that supplies food for the region's restaurants and grocery stores. I'm not running to be something, I am running to do something. I want to bring that same energy, investment, and resource as the rest of San Francisco right here to the heart of District 10. Thank you all so much for the time tonight.
Ms. Bryant.
Hello, everybody. So I just want to start by saying I keep notes because I have dyslexia. So I just want to be straightforward with the people about that. Tonight, you heard a lot of good ideas, but what I hope you heard and you took from this forum is the lived experience that is up here. I didn't learn about this district from a book. I learned about this district from living here, from surviving here, from facing the challenges that our families face every day. I've experienced public housing, I survived the gun violence, and I've raised children here, one being a child with a disability. I worked in housing, and I walk the same streets many of you guys walk every day. I'm not running because I have all the answers. I'm running because I know how to listen. I bring people together, and I fight for measurable results. My promise is simple. I will be visible, I'll be accessible, and I will be accountable. I'll tell you what I'm working on, and I'll tell you what's working, and you can tell me what needs to be changed. I'm open to bringing City Hall to the community, so the community don't have to go to City Hall.
Mr. Epler.
Thank you. I'm running for District 10 Supervisor in order to ensure that we have a government that's fair, effective, and accountable. And to me, that's personal, because I know what it's like when that's not what government does. I grew up in a working class family in a neighborhood a lot like D10. My dad was a grocery store worker. He worked 70-hour weeks without labor protection. And when he won something, his bosses took the prize. My mom fought the state when they put a freeway 29.5 feet away from my kitchen window. It's supposed to be 30, but it was 29.5 feet away. But the state wouldn't put up the sound barrier alongside of it that would have made that freeway at least livable. My parents worked hard, but they didn't have the power. They didn't have an advocate. And that's why I'm running, for the families, for the merchants, for the neighborhoods that have carried this city but haven't gotten their fair share. And it's not about putting yourself in the center as a leader, it's about doing the work and seeing who benefits from it. We're running a people power campaign for a people-centered government. I hope that you join us. I hope I can get your vote in November. I'm ready to do the work and deliver for this district. Thank you.
Ms. Pesica.
So, here's what we're gonna do, okay? What do you guys think about this? I'm one of the candidates who's really interested in listening with you guys, making sure you guys' voices are heard, going to budget meetings, working across the aisle, and also making sure people are being given transparent information, their voices are being advocated for. I'm willing to work with any one of these guys. Have them at Freeman, right? At the office. If you guys need a job or anything, any safety concerns, please go to the office where we'll be at. When we win, it'll be for the people, by the people. All right? Also, I'm hoping I'm changing and helping improve our environment, helping out our economy, our public safety. I'm one of the only people that can really help out in terms of, from a policy standpoint, from a health and regulatory standpoint, and from a community standpoint. So let's do it. Let's change it.
Thank you very much. And now, my man Bruce from ENDC is going to close us out.
Thank you so much for volunteering to help put this together. So with that, that's a wrap. And again, thank you so much. And District 10 is going to be in good hands come into the November election.